his bushy eyebrows and white nose gave him a very severe look. He had no patience with unsuccessful men. He had no patience with his father. Okonkwo ruled his house with a heavy hand. His wife, especially the youngest, lived in perpetual fear of his fiery temper. And so did his little children. Okonkwo was provoked to justifiable anger by his youngest wife, who went to plait her hair at a friend's house and did not return early enough to cook the afternoon meal. And when she returned, he beat her very heavily. In his anger, he had forgotten that it was the week of peace. His first two wives ran out in a great alarm, pleading with him that it was the sacred week. But Okonkwo was not the man to stop beating somebody halfway through. Not even for fear of a goddess. Before it was dusk, Ezeani, who was the priest of the earth goddess Ani, called on Okonkwo in his obi. Listen to me. Listen to me. A stranger in Umofia. You know as well as I do that our forefathers ordained that before we plant any crops in the fields, we should observe a week in which a man does not say a harsh word to his neighbor. Live in peace with our fellows to honor great goddess of the earth, without whose blessing our crops will not grow. You have committed a great evil. To the shrine of Ani tomorrow, one she-goat, one hen, a length of cloth, and 100 cowries. He rose and left the hut. Okonkwo did as the priest said. Inwardly, he was repentant. But he was not the man to go about telling his neighbors that he was in error. And so, people said he had no respect for the gods of the clan. The night was very quiet. And in all the 9 villages of Umuofia, a town crier with his ogene asked every man to be present tomorrow morning. In the morning, the marketplace was full. At last, Ogbuefi Ezeugo stood up in the midst of them. And in a clear, unemotional voice, he told Umuofia how their daughter had gone to market at Mbaino and had been killed. Many others spoke. And at the end, it was decided to follow the normal course of action. An ultimatum was immediately dispatched to Mbaino, asking them to choose between war, on the one hand, and on the other, the offer of a young man and a virgin as compensation. At the end, they decided, as everybody knew they would, that the girl should go to Ogbuefi Udo to replace his murdered wife. As for the boy, Ikemefuna, he belonged to the clan as a whole, and there was no hurry to decide his fate. Okonkwo was therefore asked, on behalf of the clan, to look after him in the interim. For 3 years Ikemefuna lived in Okonkwo's household. And the elders of Umuofia seem to have forgotten about him. He grew rapidly like a young tendril in the rainy season, and was full of the sap of life. He was like an elder brother to Moye, the younger boy. Okonkwo was inwardly pleased at his son's development, and he knew it was due to Ikemefuna. Okonkwo was inwardly pleased. Okonkwo sat in his obi, crunching happily with Ikemefuna and Nwoye, and drinking palm wine copiously when Ogbuefi Ezeudu came in. When they were out of earshot, he said to Okonkwo, "That boy calls you father. Do not bear a hand in his death." Yes, Umuofia has decided to kill him. The oracle of the hills and caves has pronounced it. They will take him outside Umuofia, as is the custom, and kill him there. But I want you to have nothing to do with it. Nothing. He calls you father. Father. At the beginning of their journey, the men of Umuofia talked and laughed about the locust, about the women. As they drew near to the outskirts of Umuofia, silence fell upon them. Ikemefuna felt his legs melting under him, and he was afraid to look back. As the man who had cleared his throat grew up and raised his machete, Okonkwo looked away. He heard the blow, he heard the Ikemefuna cry, "My father, they have killed me," as he ran toward him. Dazed with fear, Okonkwo drew his machete and cut him down. He was afraid of being thought weak. Okonkwo did not taste any food for 2 days after the death of Ikemefuna. He did not sleep at night. He tried not to think about Ikemefuna. But the more he tried, the more he thought about him. The land of the living was not far removed from the domain of the ancestors. There was a coming and going between them, especially at festivals, and also when an old man died. Because an old man was very close to the ancestors. A man's life, from birth to death, was a series of transition rites which brought him nearer and nearer to his ancestors. Ezeudu had been the oldest man in his village. And at his death, there were only 3 men in the whole clan who were older, and 4 or 5 others in his own age group. It was a great funeral, such as befitted a noble warrior. As the evening drew near, the shouting and the firing of guns, the beating of drums, and the brandishing and clanging of machetes increased. In the center of the crowd, a boy lay in a pool of blood. It was the dead man's 16-year-old son, who with his brothers and half brothers had been dancing the traditional farewell to their father. The conch was gone, had exploded, and a piece of iron had pierced the boy's heart. The confusion that followed was without parallel in the tradition of Umuofia. Violent deaths were frequent, but nothing like this had ever happened. Nothing. The only course open to Okonkwo was to flee the clan. It was a crime against the earth goddess to kill a clansman, and a man who committed it must flee from the land. The crime was of 2 kinds, male and female. Okonkwo had committed the female because it had been inadvertent. He could return to the clan after 7 years. Okonkwo was well received by his mother's kinsmen in Mbanta. The old man who received him was his mother's younger brother, who was now the eldest surviving member of that family. His name was Uchendu, and it was he who had received Okonkwo's mother 20 and 10 years before, when she had been brought home from Umuofia to be buried with her people. Okonkwo was well received.
Why is Okonkwo with us today? This is not his clan. We are only his mother's kinsmen. He does not belong here. He is in exile, condemned for 7 years to live in a strange land. And so, he is bowed with grief. But there is just one question I would like to ask him. Can you tell me, Okonkwo, why it is that one of the commonest names we give our children is Nneka, or Mother is Supreme? We all know that a man is the head of the family, and his wives do his bidding. A child belongs to its father and his family, and not to its mother and her family. A man belongs to his fatherland and not to his motherland. And yet we say, Nneka, Mother is supreme. Why is that? I do not know the answer, Okonkwo replied.
You do not know the answer, so you see that you are a child. You are a great man in your clan, but you are still a child, my child. Listen to me, and I shall tell you. It's true that a child belongs to his father, but when a father beats his child, it seeks sympathy in its mother's heart. A man belongs to his fatherland when things are good and life is sweet. But when there is sorrow and bitterness, he finds refuge in his motherland. Your mother is there to protect you. She's buried there. we sing that Mother is supreme.
Your duty is to comfort your wives and children and take them back to your fatherland after 7 years. But if you allow sorrow to weigh you down and kill you, then we all die in exile. He waved at his sons and daughters. You think you are the greatest sufferer in the world. Do you know that men are sometimes banished for life? For life! If you think you are the greatest sufferer in the world, ask my daughter, Akweni, how many twins she has born and thrown away. Ask her. Have you not heard the song they sing when a woman dies?
For whom is it well? For whom is it well? There is no one for whom it is well. There is no one for whom it is well.
It was in the second year of Okonkwo's exile that his friend, Obirika, came to visit him. Okonkwo was very happy to receive his friend. When nearly 2 years later, Obirika paid another visit to his friend in exile. The circumstances were less happy. The missionaries had come to Umuofia. They had built their church there, won a handful of converts, and were already sending evangelists to the surrounding towns and villages. That was a source of great sorrow to the leaders of the clan. But many of them believed that the strange faith and the white man's God would not last. None of his converts was a man whose word was heeded in the assembly of the people. None of them was a man of title. Chielo, the priestess of Agbala, called the converts the excrement of the clan. And the new faith was a mad dog that had come to eat it up.
a young lad who had been captivated. His name was Omoye, Okonkwo's first son. It was not the bad logic of the Trinity that captivated him. He did not understand it. It was the poetry of the new religion. Something felt in the marrow.
Umuofia had indeed changed during the 7 years Okonkwo had been in exile. The church had come and led many astray. Not only the low-born and the outcast, but sometimes a worthy man had joined it. But apart from the church, the white men had also brought a government. They had built a court where the district commissioner judged cases in ignorance. He had court messengers who brought men to him for trial. These court messengers were greatly hated in Umuofia because they were foreigners and also arrogant and high-handed.
There were many men and women in Umuofia who did not feel as strongly as Okonkwo about the new dispensation. The white man had indeed brought a lunatic religion, but he had also built a training store, and for the first time, palm oil and kernel became things of great price, and much money flowed into Umuofia. The new religion and government and the trading stores were very much in the people's eyes and minds. Okonkwo was deeply grieved, and it was not just a personal grief. He mourned for the clan, and he mourned for the warlike men of Umofia, who had so unaccountably become soft like women.
One of the greatest crimes a man could commit was to unmask an egugu in public, or to say or do anything which might reduce its immortal prestige in the eyes of the uninitiated. And this is what Enoch did. The annual worship of the earth goddess fell on a Sunday, and the masked spirits were abroad. Enoch boasted that they would not dare to touch a Christian, whereupon they all came back, and one of them gave Enoch a good stroke of the cane which was always carried. Enoch fell on him and tore off his mask. Enoch had killed an ancestral spirit, and Umuofia was thrown into confusion.
The band of the Vogel moved like a furious whirlwind to Enoch's compound, and with machete and fire reduced it to a desolate heap. And from there they made for the church, intoxicated with destruction. When the egugu went away, the Red Earth Church, which Mr. Brown had built, was a pile of earth and ashes, and for the moment the spirit of the clan was pacified. For the first time in many years, Okonkwo had a feeling akin to happiness.
The village crier was abroad again in the night. He beat his iron gong and announced that another meeting would be held in the morning. Everyone knew that Umuofia was at last going to speak its mind about the things that were happening. The marketplace began to fill as soon as the sun rose. When Okonkwo and Obierika got to the meeting place, there were already so many people that if one threw up a grain of sand, it would not find its way to the earth again. The first man to speak to Umuofia that morning was Okika, one of the 6 who had been imprisoned.
You all know why we are here, when we ought to be building our barns or mending our hearts, when we should be putting our compounds in order. All our gods are weeping, Idemili is weeping, Ogo is weeping, Amala is weeping, and all the others. Our dead fathers are weeping because of the shameful sacrilege they are suffering, and the abomination we have all seen with our eyes. This is a great gathering. No clan can boast of greater numbers or greater valor, but are we all here? Are the sons of Umuofia with us here? They are not. They have broken the clan and gone their several ways. We who are here this morning have remained true to our fathers, but our brothers have deserted us and joined a stranger to soil their fatherland. If we fight the stranger, we shall hit our brothers and perhaps shed the blood of a clansman. But we must do it. We must do it. Our fathers never dreamt of such a thing. They never killed their brothers, but a white man never came to them. So we must do what our fathers never would have done. We must put out this evil, and if our brothers take the side of people, we must root them out. We must do it now. We must do it now. We must bear this water now that it is only ankle deep.
At this point, there was a sudden stir in the crowd, and every eye was turned in one direction. There was a sharp bend in the road that led from the marketplace to the white man's court and to the stream beyond it. And so, no one had seen the approach of the 5 court messengers until they had come round the bend, a few paces from the edge of the crowd. The spell was broken by the head messenger. "Let me pass," he ordered. "What do you want here?" "The white man, whose power you know too well, has ordered this meeting to stop." In a flash, Okonkwo drew his machete. The messenger crouched to avoid the blow. It was useless. Okonkwo's machete descended twice, and the man's head lay beside his uniform body. Okonkwo stood, looking at the dead man. He knew that Umuofia would not go to war. He knew because they had let the other messengers escape. They had broken into tumult instead of action. He discerned fright in that tumult. He heard voices asking, "Why did he do it? Why did he do it?" He wiped his machete on the sand and went away. When the district commissioner arrived at Okonkwo's compound, at the head of an armed band of soldiers and court messengers, he found a small crowd of men sitting wearily in the Obi. "Which among you is called Okonkwo?" he asked through his interpreter. "He is not here. We can take you to where he is, and perhaps your men will help us." There was a small bush behind Okonkwo's compound. The only opening into this bush from the compound was a little round hole in the red earth wall through which fowls went in and out in their endless search for food. It was into this bush that Obirika led the commissioner and his men.
Then they came to the tree from which Okonkwo's body was dangling, and they stopped dead. Perhaps your men can help us bring him down and bury him, said Obirika. Why can't you take him down yourselves? He asked. It is against our custom, said one of the men. It is an abomination for a man to take his own life. It is an offense against the earth, and a man who commits it will not be buried by his clansmen. His body is evil, and only strangers may touch it. That is why we ask your people to bring him down, because you are strangers. Obirika, who had been gazing steadily at his friend's dangling body, turned suddenly to the district commissioner and said ferociously, "That man was one of the greatest men in Umofia. You drove him to kill himself. You drove him to kill himself. And now he will be buried like a dog." He could not say anymore. His voice trembled and choked his words.
Take down the body commissioner ordered his chief messenger, and bring it and all these people to the court. The commissioner went away, taking 3 or 4 of the soldiers with him. In the many years in which he had toiled to bring civilization to different parts of Africa, he had learned a number of things. One of them was that a district commissioner must never attend to such undignified details as cutting down a hanged man from a tree. Such attention would give the natives a poor opinion of him. In the book which he planned to write, he would stress that point. He had already chosen the title of the book after much thought: The Pacification of the Primitive Tribes of the Lower Niger.